Good afternoon, ladies and gents. I'm Asterios Iaios. I'll be your host for this afternoon. Mr. Panopoulos has the habit of always sticking me in the hour after lunch, so I'll try to wake everyone up or keep them awake, okay? I've been in the oil and gas business for about 21 years. I'm a chemical engineer MBA. But it's not about me now, it's about my esteemed guests that have three very interesting speeches. One thing I would like to note before we start is that I admire people and companies that turn a threat into an opportunity. And Management Force has done that, exactly that, going from SAFETY GALA organized each year with, okay, maybe 100 attendees, 150 attendees to over 900. Which is a huge leap for safety and health in our business. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Andrea Romeo, also a chemical engineer, which is always good, with a master in process safety engineering, currently working for the Albanian Gas Service Company as the HSE manager and the SNAM Competence Center for Safety in the Workplaces. A challenging assignment, and he is going to talk to us about health and safety learning organization. So, Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, dear hosts and guests of this SAFETY Gala. I'm going to share my presentation in a minute.
Okay. In the meantime, I would like to remind everyone that you are welcome to pose your questions in the chat forum. And in the end, we'll be asking the most popular questions, so please vote.
Okay, thank you again, and thank for this invite to the organizer. It's a huge chance for me to be here today, because it's not simply describing what we tried to do during our, let's say, path here in Albania, but also to learn new things maybe, and to share opinion with different colleagues, and in the most of the cases, very well experienced than me, let's say. IGSCO is a small company that has been established in 2019 as a joint venture between Albgas and SNAM, which are the two Albanian transmission system operator of Albania and Italy. We are the main O&M contractor in charge for carrying out the maintenance services on the Albanian section of the Southern Gas Corridor in Europe. From the logistic point of view, we have a headquarters which is located in Tirana and three different maintenance centers, one located in Fier Compressor Station, and two different teams that stays in the Berat area and Korç area. And this logistic choice has been made in order to take into account for the orography of Albania and ensure prompt intervention in case of emergency. So it's been a very well thought decision that has been made. Basically, we needed to build a maintenance provider from scratch. So we need to set up everything from brand new. And we started with primary processes that needed to be supported with operational means and logistic decision. But since the very beginning, we tried to embed the HSE process as transversal, let's say, to all these activities. And this is particularly important because we set in that way the fundamentals for our activity, also to fulfill, let's say, our client requests regarding, let's say, the HSE. The situation obviously is made more complicated if we consider that we are in a different country within a complex project with several contractors working, let's say, in the same place. We need to enter into this new environment, and we take charge of the O&M activities, so operation and maintenance activities, during a transition phase from project to commissioning, then to operation. So in this kind of environment, we need to build from scratch a company which had two different souls. One soul was made by the Italian part of the company, which has been provided obviously by SNAM with all its skills. We are a TSO since 1941, and we had very good knowledge of the client and of the industry. On the same way, we had a massive part of the company that was made by Albanian, basically, completely new to this kind of industry, but with very well knowledge of the context of the public, let's say, procedure, because HSCO is, let's say, a state company, basically, is a public company. So we needed to match, let's say, these different souls within our company in order to take this diversity as an opportunity rather than a problem. Situation made partly complicated by the fact that we had several, let's say, external constraints and stakeholders, because we have a client that wants to operate according to industry standards. We have strict law requirements that needs to apply even in Albania, obviously. We need to create from scratch, let's say, a list of providers and contractors because we didn't know the market so well. And then, meanwhile, we had a lot of needs that were arising, let's say, from the field, both from our employees, but also, let's say, related to the operational needs that arise daily in our activity. So given these features, learning for us has been more a need than a will. We needed to create, acquire, and transfer knowledge throughout our organization to change and adapt our behavior to the, let's say, to the situation, to the context, to what we were learning about the, for example, laws, contractual implications, all this kind of stuff, let's say. We needed to apply problem solving and experimenting new approaches every day, because if you stick, let's say, with the same way of doing things from the beginning, and you don't change never, especially in, let's say, during a startup activity, it means that you are not working properly. Okay, you need to set the fundamentals, but you need also to adapt and change if it is needed, and if it creates value for yourself and for your client. We needed to learn from our experience and that of the other, let's say, company. We have the opportunity to take also the experience that we had, for example, in SNAM, operating our pipeline, and we made it available to the local colleagues, and in order to create a unique environment in which everyone could have, let's say, the right knowledge and commensurate also to the activities that we were performing. You know, if we see, let's say, to what we tried to do during this part of our history, we fall exactly in the definition of learning organization, which has been provided by Garvin in 1993 on the Harvard's Business Review. And this is particularly true if we think to HSE. Here you see, let's say, 4 points that have been taken by a definition provided by the UK HSE. But honestly, if I think to what we are trying to do and what we did up to date, we fall exactly within this category. So thinking on this process, the first step that we needed to let's say, to establish, the first thing that we need to do was to ensure the availability of competent personnel. As I told before, we were in a new market, in a new country, within a new market for the country, so a new industry for the country. We needed to train our personnel, which was mainly local and completely new to this kind of activities. We established a 9 months training that has been delivered, let's say, fully nowadays. And almost the 7% of this training has been based on HSE. But as you can see from the slide, we had, let's say, several stages of this training, ranging from the technical induction, theory, more or less, with many practical parts, specific, let's say, training for the person who were in charge for the supervision, the HSE modules, as well as the English module, because communication is essential. Otherwise, it means that you cannot share information with anyone. It's simple, I know, as a concept, but this is critical. This is very critical, and indeed, we invested a lot on this specific part, let's say, of the project. Today, we can define ourselves still as a learning operational company. We commenced, let's say, our operation, but we still keep learning and we still want to learn. Tomorrow, we hopefully, let's say, be always a learning operational company, because learning is a continuous process that never stops and never has to stop. But tomorrow, probably we will be more experienced in managing this kind of issues that we might have, let's say, managing an operational pipeline. Having competent people does not ensure, let's say, that a learning organization is in place. Okay, this is only a small part, because you create the knowledge, you create the vocabulary, but then you need to create also the moments in which you are going to share this knowledge between the people, and in which you share also the feedback that you gather, let's say, from field, from your client, from your contractors, from different departments. So basically, we identified, let's say, very specific moments along the year, which commence with the annual review meeting that we had, for example, a couple of weeks ago, in which we define the targets and the plans for the upcoming year. Okay, these, let's say, targets are reviewed periodically, and at this purpose, we have established a quarterly HSE meeting, and these targets and plans are declined throughout the organization by means, on one side, of specific meeting within the HSE department. So we have the fortnightly HSE advisory meeting, we have let's say the internal meeting for HSE, but we have also other moments in which we share all this information and all this knowledge, because we take the chance also to have some retraining during some of these moments throughout the HSE, throughout the IGSCO staff meetings and the Council of Health and Safety. This one in particular is very important because through this meeting that we have at least 3 times per year, we ensure the workers' participation in the HSE process of the company. So basically, we use it as a moment to explain what is the strategy of the company and to gather feedback from workers regarding this strategy, and also regarding all the actions that we planned, implement, and so on and so forth. We share obviously lessons learned regarding past incident, but we share also incidents that might happen with our clients, with our contractors, even with SNAM itself, if something happens. The process of gathering feedback from field and let's say providing knowledge to the field is implemented also through a mechanism which is called Toolbox Talk Dynamic Risk Assessment. Actually, this has been motivated by our client. This is a specific requirements for our client that I found particularly important, because it ensures that the generic risk assessment that you have within your company might have a real pertinence to what is performed at site level. And this is also a good chance to gather, let's say, feedback from field, because when you find something which is not mapped in the generic risk assessment, you can integrate a generic risk assessment, let's say, considering also the new elements that have been provided. This process up to now, it's let's say bottom up and top down. Okay, so we have these 2 parallel lines that are working up to now, but we need to consider that we are within a more integrated value chain, the one of our client. So basically, we need to ensure that also the communication, the information, and the knowledge flows horizontally. So at this purpose, we need to create dedicated moment and dedicated tools also to communicate with our client and with our contractors. At this purpose, we have coordination meetings, we have coordination plans, HSE plans, more informal moments for sharing, and we are planning also to involve, let's say, the contractors within all the activities that we will implement over the next months to sustain the safety culture. As a consequence, obviously, we need to adapt and change, as I told before. We need to change our organization. We implemented new roles, new responsibilities. We changed the way we did things. We didn't have a certain standard. We identified that the specific standard was needed. We introduced the new form to gather some information. We need to adapt our documents or simply our approach. And this is particularly true during the past year, because the pandemic has been an incredible chance for us to learn, because we need to learn how to trace a contact, how to manage a symptomatic or positive case, how to apply the testing protocol. We adapted our work organization in order to ensure that the emergency was respected. And tomorrow I know that there will be a presentation about this, and I think you will find it very, very interesting and very, let's say, extensive. We need to find also let's say, not the availability of resources, but we need to allocate properly the resources that we needed to ensure safety performance of our activities, even during the pandemic period. And last but not least, we need to adapt our risk assessment considering the specific risk profile of each job position. Up to date, we can see that the results are positive, but if we stick only with the upper part of the iceberg, we might say, okay, we are perfect, we are good, it's fine. I want to focus on the submerged part of this iceberg, and in particular on the leading, let's say, indicators that we have mentioned there. For us, it's not, let's say, the perfect situation, because it means that we received up to date very few structured feedback from field. So it means that the most important information that we gather from field have been gathered through the mechanism of the meeting that I discussed before, the formalized, let's say, touch points that we discussed before. But it is important, let's say, to bring everyone within the company to feel safety and HSE in general as a specific and personal duty of the person, and to report if something is not going positive. If we see, let's say, this under the point of view of the Bradley curve that has been already discussed also before, so I'm not going to repeat anything about this, we can see that at the very beginning of the history of this company, everything was almost allocated on my department regarding HSE, no? Because everyone was committed to perform its own activities, and they wanted to go, let's say, straightforward to what was, let's say, the core business of their department, of their function. After a while, couple of years, okay, we can see now that we are moving toward, or we moved within a dependent stage of the Bradley curve. It means that now we rely a lot on supervision. This is good because it means that we made the first step, let's say, under the Bradley curve, but in my opinion, this is not sufficient. We want to achieve more. And in particular, I want to see this as an hazardous situation for us, because for the moment, it relies yet on the supervision of the specific individual. It means that if for some reason I will lost that specific supervisor, which is very competent, very committed to perform supervision, the whole system might, let's say, fall back to the reactive stage. The next step, obviously, is to move toward the independent, and always on my perception, this is, let's say, the most hard part to, the most hard step to be done, because in this situation, it means that we have a radical shift, and we move from a situation in which safety is driven by the individual to a situation in which everyone is committed, but we have a concept, a wide concept, an extended concept of safety culture within our company. So safety become a personal value, and it means that it is, let's say, part of each individual, and each individual commences to think in a different way how safety is, let's say, managed within the company. Obviously, we want to achieve the interdependent stage, but as we said before, it's a long route, and we are not able to foresee today where we will be, let's say, in the next year. For sure, we need to work to sustain, let's say, this transition, and to do that, we have identified 4 pillars, which are the one, let's say, listed in these slides. And on these 4 pillars, we developed our strategy and our plans for 2021 and 2022. I'm not going to see any point, let's say, of this slide, but the most important thing, in my opinion, is that we are reviewing, let's say, and optimizing our training paths, because it's not sustainable to have for 9 months one person, let's say, within a training room, let's say, doing exactly the same steps that we did the first time. And we are, let's say, moving toward an on-the-job training, more related to field activities, and more pertinent. And honestly, it might be also more interesting for someone who joined a new company. On the same way, we will sustain, let's say, the HSE competence through the dedicated training that we we normally have in our company, and we will deliver train the trainer for the DHC advisor that are allocated within our organization, because we have, let's say, dedicated person within each maintenance center that oversee DHC activity of that specific maintenance center. In order, let's say, to enable also the participation of the worker, we will have a process of gathering of improvement ideas. This is something similar to what I see in a previous presentation from Chipita, I think, if I remember correctly. But this is critical because field people knows what happens on site. They are there. They know what is going to be wrong, what is going to be good. Okay, we as a risk analyst, as a HSE manager, as a HSE officer, so on and so forth, we might have a perception, we might create models, but they know what's going to happen on field. In order to have more fresh information and to let's say, gather first-hand information, we are going to introduce something which we call Gemba walk. Actually, it's a safety walk, if we want to see in a traditional way. But the word Gemba is very important because it's the Japanese word for going where the things happen. So it's something a little bit more than a mere safety walk. It means that we go there to see what really happens with open eyes, to gather as much information as possible, to improve as much as possible. This process will be sustained through, let's say, a campaign that we will be running this year, which is the HSE Champions League. And even in this case, the name is not, let's say, casual, but we wanted to select this name because of the love that Albanian persons have for football. So we wanted to create, let's say, an environment in which each team of our, let's say, organization will be working together. We are not going to penalize anyone for anything, but we will be reinforcing positive behavior through, let's say, premiating, through awarding, let's say, the gathering of leading indicators and the production of activities that generates a leading indicator.
Andrea, we are reaching the end of
yes,
your...
Yes, I'm almost almost finished. Obviously, we improved, let's say, and we made available resources. And as I told before, we have a dedicated standard for contractors, and we are integrating them, let's say, within our process. What are the main findings of this experience? Obviously, we are not discussing of sending rockets on the moon. We are a simple company up to now with its own complexity. But what I'm sure and what I've learned from this experience is that we cannot, let's say, see organizational learning as something which is independent from HSE learning, and that to sustain HSE learning and organizational learning, we need to create routine moments and to have reinforcement actions. This is the only way to build a safety culture, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, I will be happy to discuss with everyone about this, no problem. But I'm pretty sure that if we don't create this kind of situation and this kind of moments, we cannot have a significant, let's say, action on our workforce and to create, finally, let's say, a place where HSE is a way to do things right the first time and avoid rework, sustain business, and so on and so forth. I'm done with my presentation. Thank you. I hope I didn't, let's say, take too much time.
Grazie, Andrea.
Grazie a voi.
It was very impressive in the sense that you are creating a maintenance partner out of thin air, more or less. And it's a challenge. At the same time, it's an opportunity because you don't have to overcome a certain business culture, only the country culture or cultures that you work in, but at least you can create something new. It's time to present the next speaker, Professor Karl-Heinz Nettle, who is a senior consultant of the German Social Accident Insurance, president of the International Social Security Association, and much more in terms of training, seminars, conferences, and I would need an hour to read his resume. And in all terms, a leader of national and international research projects in occupational health and safety since 1991, where I was in high school at the time. So, Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I will open my presentation first. Wait a second. Hopefully everyone can see it. Yeah, okay. You can see it?
Not yet.
Maybe it takes time to I put it on my screen. Wait a second. Yesterday when we tested it, it was automatically. Then wait a second, I do it like this.
Well, live events have these difficulties.
Right, right.
We're all struggling with Zoom and WebEx and
GoToMeeting, Skype, and all those. Yes. So,
I think okay.
Something is coming now. You can see.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So first of all, thank you to be part of that conference. It's not the first time to be a speaker at the Safety Gala, but the first time online. Up to now, I was sometimes present in Athens. So it's a new experience for me as well, related to Safety Gala. And I would like to say thank you to Andrea Romeo to his presentation, because it shows a very well committed company and taking care of the people working for them and try to do the best to reach Vision Zero, to reach zero accidents and zero health problems. And I want to introduce some tools developed by International Social Security Association for the construction field. And I think, Andrea, you will see quite quickly that you are following a lot of these, let's say, rules we developed for, let's say, the whole construction world. So thank you very much for the good examples. I will give some, let's say, ideas which you presented and show that they are totally in line with that what we developed. The current situation in the construction industry worldwide, I will show you some pictures here. For example, the crane accident in Austin in USA, 20 people died. Or in Germany, for example, scaffolding collapse on construction site, 4 dead, 1 injured. Or here in France, occupation accident, a worker dies crushed by a concrete slab on a construction site in Mérignac. Or in Chile, for example, 1 worker dead and another with his legs amputated after an accident in Concord. So these are some examples you will find all over the world. If we look to fatalities, not only for construction, but for all industries, every 14 seconds, someone dies due to work conditions. These are figures from the International Labour Organization. But if we look to construction, the fatality rate in construction is around 2.5 times higher than in other industries. And the main accident causes in construction is slip, trip, and falls, ladders, falling objects, electricity, hazardous substances. I think you all know this kind of causes also in other industries. But this is something which most people don't know. If we look to fatal injuries due to fall, approximately 20% of all fatal injuries in the world, in all industries, they created 0.5% economic loss worldwide. This is a huge amount, only related to falls. So we have to ask us, why do we tend to repeat some of our mistakes from the past or make similar ones? Time pressure is one topic. Cost pressure, next one. But, and I think this is the most important one, no safety culture. And we got a lot of examples from Andrea to change the safety culture in the company or in that construction site. And we have to ask us, are we using the right methods to change the situation? one big problem we are focusing all over the world are the different languages and the difficulty to communicate. And that was an idea for us, together with the International Labour Organization, to identify some of the most common sore points concerning safety and health in the construction industry, drawing up of bad examples next to good ones. No written language, can be used worldwide, and it is an open source product available for free via website of ISA Construction or the International Labour Organization. We started with 43 scenarios, only a few examples. I think I don't have to say anything. These pictures are self-understanding, and if you like it, you can use it for instruction of your people. You can load it down, and you have only to mention where it comes from, and then you can use it. So you see some of these very well-known areas where we have these accidents. And it is simple to understand, no wording is necessary. And we called it prevention through pictures. And if you like to load down all the pictures, there is some noise, sorry, you can load it down. I will send the PowerPoint presentation with the links to Athens, and so then you can load it down. In addition, we are doing a lot of events. ISA Construction organized or co-organized several Vision Zero conferences all over the world to improve safety, health, and well-being. 2019, it was in Mumbai, and it's always supported by government. Or in Africa in 2020 with OSH Africa for the whole continent. This time it was online, but in November this year we're having International Vision Zero conference with about 2,000 to 3,000 participants in Nigeria. And in 2022 we will have a world conference for the construction section in Berlin. Will be in June. There is some noise. So these are some examples to improve the situation in the construction industry, but we need a strategy because we have a lot of single improvements, but we need a strategy to change these bad situation in the construction industry. And the strategy is a Vision Zero. It is a global prevention strategy towards safety, health, and well-being at work. And it is a strategy, but nevertheless, I would like to say it is a movement now, not only for construction. I give an example for construction. It is, you can use it for all industries, and it is a movement in more than 100 countries in the world nowadays. So it is the first time that so many countries are following a strategy. And it is, I think that the most important thing is, it is very simple to understand. Okay, if I say Vision Zero, maybe you will say this is an illusion, but I tell you, it is the mission possible. So we have 7 golden rules, very simple. Take leadership commitment. I think Andrea showed it very, very impressive. There is a huge leadership commitment in your company, in your organization. Identify hazard and risk. It was also part of your presentation. Set targets for safety, ensure a safe system, use safe and health technology, improve qualification, also very impressive what you are doing in your company, and this is very important, invest in people. They know the problems, they know what has to be changed, talk to them, and if they have good examples, try to give them a gift or something else. But how can we achieve a future without accidents on construction sites and without occupational diseases? We have a guideline. So with the help of a guideline for the implementation of the Vision Zero strategy in the construction industry, you have a very simple tool and you can use it. And this is the guideline. You have the 7 golden rules and you have examples how to implement the Vision Zero strategy. Very, very simple. And application in the construction industry is part of that Vision Zero guideline. You all know that construction projects are complex and unique, and you have a lot of stakeholders and many phases. So we must prevent risk during all the phases of a project life cycle. Different stakeholders have to be involved in each of the phases. This is a, let's say, small overview. So how can we check the 7 golden rules so that they are well implemented? We have a rating system. Also, again, simple, no action, action required, urgent action required, and not applicable. I only will give you 2 short examples how you can use it. For example, the first one, take leadership, demonstrate commitment. And so the owner client is ultimately responsible for safety. Yes or no, or we have to improve. Managers demonstrate safety and health, set the standards, and serve as a role model. Again, you can choose, is it green, yellow, red, or employees should always feel responsible for their own and their co-workers' safety. This was also mentioned by Andrea at the end, that they are taking care of that. So I think, Andrea, your company will have a lot of green lights. And only the last one, invest in people, which is very important, motivation by participation. So example, OSH topics are introduced in daily routine discussions of everyone. Potential unsafe conditions are addressed immediately, or employees are involved by allowing them to contribute their ideas about safety and health. Again, here, I think your company, Andrea, will have a lot of green lights here. Nevertheless, we have 7 golden rules, and if you go through, it takes not much time to go through to have a first impression about the situation in the company. So again, you have you will get these internet addresses to load it down. It is open source. You don't have to pay anything for it. So try to have a look at it. And I think you will be impressed how simple it is. And I think this is a success of Vision Zero. It is simple to understand. It is simple to implement in the company, and it costs nearly nothing. Furthermore, some new products we are developing, a short version of application in the construction industry. You know, around 90% in the construction industry worldwide are small and medium-sized companies. And mostly they like to have short versions to use it and to understand it easily. And then the Vision Zero Guide 7 Golden Rules for small businesses, very small ones, will be specified for the construction industry. In addition, we are now developing a video to promote Vision Zero strategy for construction industry. Someone is talking at the phone, and it is in my my earphone, so hopefully the others can't hear it. So this will be ready end of the year, and it's also an open source product, and you can load it down from our internet website. Proactive leading indicators, I think you mentioned it as well. Mostly people are looking to lagging indicators, but there is a wonderful research project finished last year. Also simple to understand, and it's about proactive leading indicators, complementary to the Vision Zero 7 Golden Rules. And please have a look at it, and you will find some, let's say, ideas to improve proactive leading indicators, to implement it in your company. And we are just working to specify it for the construction industry. But nevertheless, these guide can be used everywhere in all industry directly, and maybe later on you will specify it a little bit. Have a look at it, and I think it is very helpful, and it will change a lot in your company. And a new project is now implemented. We are starting on it, and it's about supply chains in our world. Also a very interesting project. So you got a small overview about what we are creating, what is available. Go to the internet website, load it down, have a look at it, and I think you will be impressed. And for sure, it is mission possible. I know construction companies with 10,000 of people and no fatalities, no severe accidents, because they are using this structure, not now, but already for years without knowing the rules. Now they can, let's say, use the rules and can say, yes, we are fulfilling it. And thank you for your attention, and maybe some test questions in the chat will follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karl-Heinz. I hope you can hear me. I know you could hear me when you were not supposed to, but anyway, these things happen in live events. Please state your questions for the professor, and we can discuss them in the end. We will now go to our last but not least speaker, Mr. Athanasios Bougas, or Bougas.
It is Bougas, actually.
Bougas.
Bougas.
Ah, Bougas, okay.
But in English,
I did the foreigner names right, and I messed up the Greek name. Okay.
Exactly.
It's a progress. It's a skill. Thanasis is a software engineer with a senior software engineer with more than 25 years of experience in the field, with technical management, design, implementation of information systems, and mission-critical real-time systems for different industry sectors. I believe he has some in the defense sector as well, which is very, very interesting. The last 5 years, he has been leading the development of software products and solutions for health and safety, which is kind of the trend now everywhere, the digital transformation of companies and procedures. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening for me. Thank you all for participating. I have to repeat that I am a software engineer and not a safety engineer, so I will try to talk your language. I will try to be, understandable. It's a different sector, but it's a sector that assists health and safety in a great extent. So let me start my presentation. Give me a moment. Okay, it is there, isn't it? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so let's start. Our topic is digitalization of health and safety management, and especially for performance monitoring. Most of the terms used in health and safety, I'm not really expert, so I will try to avoid using them and stay on the software perspective. So let's start and see. Health and safety management, what it used to be and what it is. Not expert to say, but in the past it had those basic safety rules. Now there are targets regarding zero accident goals. In the past it was just legal applications. Now it's everybody wants to develop systems to ensure that we meet our goals. Before it was just management, now we're trying to find a holistic approach to enforce a holistic approach to safety. Before it was basic criteria, now there's sustainability criteria. And the practical thing is before or even currently, we used to use paper. Everything was paper-based. Now we're talking about digitalization. So let's move on and talk a little about this. Let's just distinguish some terms. There is digitization, which almost most people are familiar with, and digitalization. These are very similar terms, but very different too. So based on Gartner glossary, digitization is the process of changing something analog to digital. So in other words, it's the process of, instead of using paper, let's say, to fill in a form with information about an incident, it's just using a computer to insert this information to a database. This is digitization, sorry. So it's the analog is converted to digital and without no other changes. It's just the digital form. On the other hand, digitalization has to do with changing business model, changing processes. It's the process of moving to digital business. The big difference is that digitalization has to do with exploiting technology to gain. So it's the process of changing our processes in order to use our technology and gain, and be more efficient, and have all the gains from technology, from established technology. And technology changes all the time, and technology improves, so we have more and more opportunities to benefit more from digitalization. So I will talk, the previous two speakers talked about the health and safety. Of course, I will talk about how we can record and register and use all this information generated during the project life cycle, even if it's, whether it's construction or industry, it's just health and safety. So, common practices. Many companies in the past and even now use paper. So whatever information they have, they just fill in well-prepared forms, or they use any kind of paper, but it's paper-based. And what they do is they gather, they count their incidents, they count their information, they categorize them by hand, and they distribute papers, some of them to all those who have to know about something. And then they file the papers, and there's not much they can do more about it. So for further processing or to create summaries and reports, there's too much work because everything has to be done manually. Monitoring capability is very limited. You have to count papers. You have to have papers all the time in hand and try to extract useful information from papers. So when data becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, what's happening is that doing something more with data can become actually impossible. So next level is do what we call digitization. So start recording using digital methods to record our information. This is digitization. So what companies do, what we usually do is instead of paper, start filling in spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are very easy. Everybody's familiar now with spreadsheets. And we have a lot of freedom in creating any form of lists, whatever we want, and configure our information. It's very easy. It's very quick. And it makes further processing much easier. Like you want to create graphs, charts, you want to measure, you want to categorize, whatever, it's much easier. But we still have problems in health and safety issues when using just spreadsheets. That how can we homogenize information across the organization? How can we ensure proper distribution of information? How can we combine data to identify trends? If we have everything in separate spreadsheets, at some point we need to compare. We need to make aggregations. We cannot do it easily with spreadsheets. We can, but there is a lot of work. We have to do a lot of work, or we have to be very, very organized. And how can we deal with big volumes of data? When data becomes big, then we usually need another way to handle it. And in the end, how can we effectively measure H&S performance? It's very difficult when we're using just spreadsheets. I'm talking very technically. I'm trying to be very practical. So next step is digitalization. In digitalization, we exploit technology to meet our safety goals. This means that we have, let's say, our safety goals, and we're trying to introduce processes to meet them. So what digitalization offers is information accuracy. You have systems that allow you to enter all information that generated in a project. You can categorize information. You can assess the risk and anything you want. You can document and include documentation in your findings or in your records. It offers measurability. You can measure your information. You can measure your status. So whatever it's well known that whatever you cannot measure, you cannot easily manage. So measurability is very, very important. It's one good reason to go to a good system to digitalization your project, to digitalize your site and move on with technology. Traceability, you have to be able to find all related information regarding something that you want. Distribution, when you have, let's say, an incident, you want to be able to easily and timely distribute, share information with all related persons and actionees. If it's your your employee or a contractor or subcontractor, you have to be able to distribute, to share information. And of course, you have to share information, you have to notify your management, all different levels of management. They have to know, and they have to know exactly what they need to know. Maybe they need aggregations, maybe they need just reports that will make them see what is the situation. And of course, proper processing and aggregation to facilitate decision-making. Management makes decisions, so they need information. Information is important, so information must be provided in a way that it will be easier to be used by management. We want management at all levels to be involved. So we provide them an easy way to be involved. So with digitalization, what we gain is data homogenization. What do we mean with that? When we have information, we have our risks, we have our contractors, whatever. We need to speak one language. We need to have everything. Everybody has to say the same thing, the same way, so that we can measure. Another is alerting, early warning, notification. We have. It's a good thing if we have systems that warn us about things. Or alert us that something has gone wrong automatically. They provide statistics and KPIs. KPIs are used to make decisions. We need statistics. We need to create easily statistics and KPIs. Automation of distribution. Any piece of information generated during the project life cycle should automatically be shared with all the correct persons. And this should be without any more effort. Automation is very, very important. Access authorization. At some levels, we have to make sure that its information goes only to people that need or have the authority to see it. Management involvement. We try to make it easy for management to decide on our information. And that's why we want systems that can drill and summarize information a proper way, so that they help decision making at different levels of management. And of course, we have different issues like GDPR management that could be addressed through digitization. And another very important issue is multiple language support. Maybe it's very common to have different languages on site or at different sites, but as a corporation, I need to be able to share information and share data, share information, and be able to do it for all people, whatever language they are talking. So we need systems that talk different languages, that can be understood by all personnel, all workers. It's very important. So taking steps, how do we move into the digitalization? Let's take a simple case of incident tracking. When an incident occurs in a site, the HS function, among others, I remind you, I am a software engineer, so I have no experience in the field. This is from what I have gathered so far. So what are the HS functions? What they do? They record the incident, when, where, who was involved, categorize the incident, make a risk assessment, analyze and search root causes of the incident, decides on actions to be taken, possibly notifies the authorities if it's a serious accident. At some point later, notifies management, suppliers, and contractors or subcontractors involved. Anybody involved should know about the incident. At some point later, updates incident summaries for management purposes. The management has to know the new KPIs, the new counts, the new aggregations. And of course, in order to investigate properly, we need sometimes to search incident history, identify it, and in order to identify possible incident trends. We want to see if this has happened, at what areas, and all this information. So we have to have all this information. We have to have it very easily available. So these are some of the tasks of the HNS function. But here come the questions. How easy it is to perform all these tasks? How can we know that each required task is actually performed? How can we know that all parties involved are properly informed? How can we ensure that corrective actions are applied properly and on time? How can management be sure for the integrity of the summary and reports they receive, in which they rely in order to make decisions? And how can we measure the performance of the action taken and policies enforced? So how can we ensure? This is the big question. How can we ensure? This is where it's, technology, this is where software comes, information technology comes instead. So except for registering, recording information is to ensure. So we want to have to put little effort on ensuring. We want to be able to know that things are performed the way they should be. So with digitalization, incident tracking process could look like electronic recording of the incident on the field, probably using a portable device that's connected to the company's network. So instead of filling in a paper form, there could be a device on the field, and somebody could just enter the information in the field, in the device. Automatic notifications of responsible persons. Root cause analysis based on facts and historic data found in the instance database. Everything that is getting into the system, it's getting in the database and can be used very easily. Homogenization of data could even allow the use of information from other similar projects. Decisions on action to be taken, of course. Assignment of actions to responsible persons, suppliers, contractors, subcontractors, automatically, with automatic notification of all these persons, of its assignee, and monitoring of the status of the actions. Possible notification of the authorities and proper indication in the system. So we do something, we indicate in the system that, and we know that we have done it. Automatic notification of management in real time. It's very important. Whatever incident is recorded, everybody can see. The top management can see the KPIs and statistics probably, or even the detailed data. Every level of management can see what they want to see, what they need to see in order to have the real-time picture of what is happening. Each incident report automatically updates all relevant summaries and KPIs. Quantity factors will give the appropriate quality factors, which different levels of management will use to make decisions. So we can measure things, and whatever we measure can give us some quality aspect that management can use to make decisions. The whole thing, is a big thing to make it easy for management to have the whole picture and take the correct actions and decisions. So let's talk about performance monitoring. We have settled our safety policies. Where on the side we have settled our safety policies. So we run the site, and we create information. How can we measure? How can we monitor performance using a digitalizing our system? So performance monitoring is a continuous process aiming to constantly improve safety policies towards safety excellence. The goal is safety excellence. The goal is zero accidents. So how we achieve that? Constantly, one way is constantly improving safety policies, our safety procedures. How we do that? We measure what we have now. We do our performance evaluation. We evaluate our status to see if we are getting better or worse, and we apply new processes, and then we go back to evaluating our current situation. So it's an iterating thing that we evaluate, modify, go back to evaluating, go back to modifying, and that's how we improve. That's how we can improve. Let's have a very quick case study from a large construction site in North Greece. They had to deal with large volumes of data regarding budget, subcontractors, personnel, scaffolds. It's like every construction site, permits to work, equipment, lifting equipment, incidents, and others. So what they decided they had their management, the health and safety management digitalized, and they had the following benefits. They could instantly answer many questions like how many people have received proper training? Is a contractor allowed to enter the site? Based on if they have contracts, check their contracts, if they have proper licenses and everything. How many near misses do we have per area? How many incidents and how many of them are near misses? How many scaffolds do we have in the site? At which locations and what is the status of each scaffold? How many incidents do we have per category? Are we getting better or worse? What is the status of the corrective actions assigned to personnel? How many pending, how many are closed? Based on inspections, what is the status of our site compared to previous months, compared to last year? We want to see our trend. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? And of course, there were automatic notifications, such as early warning on which vehicles are approaching insurance expiration. If my vehicle has no insurance, then it's supposed to get out, to be out of the site. And if there is some expiration, then we have automatic notifications in order to take actions about vehicles, and not only about vehicles. We're talking about licenses. We're talking about expirations of contracts. So we need to know who can be in the site and until when. But it's not only to register dates in the system. It's a good thing if we are being notified daily on who should not be in the site, who should be removed from the site, and things like that. Of course, there are many more. I'm just mentioning just a few of them to have an idea. Here we see just a few of that's a program here, and a few of metrics and KPIs and things that you can have if you digitalize your system, and what benefits and what useful information you can get out of your information. Whatever you enter in the system can give you a lot of useful information. So the most important in that case study is that they had the necessary input to monitor and evaluate their safety policies. They had the tools to decide on adding new processes to their policy, modifying processes in order to increase their efficiency, removing processes if they're obsolete or not adequately efficient. So it's just about re-evaluating our processes, but they had the information there. Then collect all relevant quantity and quality factors and re-evaluate and so on. As I showed you before, it goes from evaluation, modification. Take some time, re-evaluation, re-modification. Also, they can reuse the recorded experience in other similar projects. Whatever you get in a system, data produced during a project lifecycle stays there and can be easily used as it's a project experience, so it can easily be used in other cases. So if we gather, it's a good thing that we can gather information from different projects, from different work, and combine and compare. So it gives us a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities.
You're running out of time, Thanasi.
1 minute, I'll be done. I think this is my last slide. So
okay,
another aspect is artificial intelligence, use of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is getting more and more in every aspect of software, in every aspect of technology. So health and safety management tends to produce increasing volumes of information. And this information represents our experience in the fields. This information can be used by artificial intelligence to create information models, and these information models can assist us in predicting instead of having correctively. Let's act proactively. Artificial intelligence can now help us predict, and prediction means better organization. Thank you very much for your interest. I hope you could, because I'm software, I hope that I was understandable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. From personal experience, I'd like to say that we've seen quite a few presentations moving up the culture curve, or well, downwards, but literally speaking up. Then this creates a lot of data. And at some point, spreadsheets are not able to cope with this kind of data. Managers are not able to cope with this raw data. And it is critical that we at least digitize, if not digitalize our processes in HSE. It's time. So thank you very much, Thanasi. A few questions. One for Andrea. Andrea, are you there? Ready?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
This is from a guy named Asterios Yayos.
Okay.
Have you applied a structured safety management systems, i.e. compliant to ISO 45001?
We are building it. We are a little bit in delay, let's say, on our roadmap because of the pandemic and everything that happened last year, because obviously it was a deviation which was not perfectly in line. But we coped, let's say, with the procedure from our client and what we had from SNAM. So basically, the approach is the same, but we, as a GSCO, we are building our system, and we would like, hopefully, in the future to have it certified. For sure, the risk, yes, the risk-based thinking is for sure, let's say, the pillar on which all the company, let's say, HSE management is based on.
Thank you. A question to Professor Nettle from Mr. Panopoulos. What is the correlation or interrelation between the Vision Zero and the 7 Golden Rules with sustainable development and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, 17 of the United Nations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and it's a huge range they are describing with these sustainable goals. I think there are 3 goals where we can fit in. One is good health and well-being. If you follow the 7 golden rules, you will have good health and the well-being of your employees. And I think there we fit in. and if you follow the rules, it is sustainable for sure. And then the goal number 4, it's called quality education. I think quality is also a term which is which has a big range. And quality for me is, if you have healthy personnel, if you have personnel which is well-being, and you can educate your company, your staff, to follow that goal, I think then the quality of your staff is good, the quality of the work of the staff, and at the end also the financial results of the company are good. So this is a kind of quality of your staff. So I think these 2 goals are in line with the 7 golden rules, or the 7 golden rules are in line with the 2 goals. Yes.
I think you're on mute, Asterios.
Well, when I was supposed to be mute, I was unmuted. Now vice versa. Anyway, it's late in the afternoon. From Mrs. Christina Alexandropoulou for Thanasis Bougas. Software is crucial for security, health, and safety. So, in a sense, you two are a safety engineer. More of a comment than a question. That's true. And the question from Litsi Roland, I hope I pronounced it right. Apparently, the safety digitalization might be considered as an integrated part of modern safety approach. What is the feedback from the clients on the safety digitalization? Is it part of the modern safety approach? What do your clients tell you?
The clients, you mean the companies or the users?
The users.
The users. The users, like in every area, let's say every sector that you're trying to apply new software, because software changes processes and people don't like change. So at the beginning, everybody's skeptical. Not everybody, most people are skeptical. Most people don't really like it at the beginning because they are afraid of the consequences of applying software and being able to register, to record information, and changing the process that they're used to. In the end, on the process, when they see the benefits, things get better. Things get better, and in the end, most of them, I guess, are accepting because they see the benefits. So I think it used to be like that, it is like this, and it will be like this.
Okay.
It's not easy to be accepted.
It's a journey.
A journey, yes.
For Andrea from Mr. Panopoulos, what has been your biggest challenge working in a country with a different culture and safety culture? And what is the tips to share for us to be taken into consideration when working with different cultures? I think that's a trap question.
Yes, indeed, I replied pray. No, for sure, let's say we had a lot of complication and complexities within this project, and the pandemic was only the last one. But for sure, I think that the main one was the risk perception, not in let's say the operational sense, but in the widest sense possible between all company levels. I mean, if a part of the company perceive the HC risk as something which is an accessory, okay, and the other one gives a lot of weight to this topic, okay, we have a discrepancy and even a difference in the way of doing things. The same applies with person. If me as a manager pay a lot of attention to my personal responsibilities and to my duties, and my colleagues is not doing the same, okay, because he perceived its risk as a different thing, okay, it's the same. And then at operational level, if while I'm doing things, I'm not scared, let's say, of getting harmed, because I think I'm Superman, and my colleague is doing something different, okay, again, we risk to create, let's say,
So that is the challenge. What is your take
Yes,
on that challenge? How do you face that?
We need to try to homogenize this always by enabling communication. Probably if we could not, let's say in our roadmap, because we had a clear let's say path that has been established, and so we start by training the operational part of the company. But if I could give someone else let's say a suggestion, is to commence from the staff, because if you start from headquarter staff, okay, this will help you to integrate HSE within every project, within every process. And this means that everyone within the company will start speaking the same language. If you don't speak the same language at all level of the company, you might have a part of the company that works according to industry standard, which is the O&M, let's say, part of the company, and the headquarter part that you need to struggle, let's say, to convince them that something maybe it's correct in a certain way, and so on and so forth. Okay, it takes a while for us to reach a good level about this.
Understandable. The last question, because we're near to 20 past 4, from Mr. Yorgos Banoutsos to Thanasis Bougas. Thank you for your presentation. Do you have in mind any actual applications of artificial intelligence data models in safety, I presume? Thank you.
So right now I cannot answer this question, but I guess that there are a lot. We have not started yet to embrace artificial intelligence, but it's within our next plans to use in our products artificial intelligence, to incorporate artificial intelligence to get the benefits of all this process. I guess that if you search, you will find a lot of tools to do this. And you can find, I guess, a lot of software products that in the near future could do this. So just look and keep up with us too.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and patience. The presentations were indeed very diverse and very interesting. So, other than that, I wish you a good afternoon and see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.